Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. Wherever you are in the world, we are thrilled to have you here. We have followers on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Roku Worldwide, Amazon Fire, and Zizzle TV. I'm thrilled to host this show for our star, Mr. Philip Sykes. Our show today is The Power of Etiquette and Manners, and we're going to be zoning in on technology etiquette, which seems to be clearly in need of a refresh. So let's welcome the president, the principal, the founder of the British School of Excellence, my dear friend, Mr. Philip Sykes. Hello.
JACALYN, Friday, oh, yay, yes. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to have you here today because, as you know, there's a lot of darkness in the world and we are bringing some light. And so you've shared before, and I think this just warrants repeating. Some people think that etiquette and manners are not important, but yet basic etiquette is treating people with respect.
Kindness, respect, empathy.
Absolutely.
How do you show up every day toward one another? How are we treating one another? And the world, people in the world, and it's a generalization, I think have forgotten how to do that or just don't have it in them. They haven't been shown. And, this is something that starts at grassroots. It starts when we're young, and we as parents are the shepherds. We've got to guide and steer our children. We can't leave it up to the schools or anyone else. The parents, your grandparents are there to help bring up our beautiful kids. And, bearing in mind, Dr. JACALYN, they don't have a choice to be born into this world. It's a big responsibility. You need to have a license to drive a car, but you don't need to have a license to bring a child into the world, which, holy moly, that's a rather scary thought, in my opinion.
So true. So true. And just from a personal note, I had something that happened today that I am seething. I am so angry about the way I was treated and disrespected. And I wanted to just lash out. And instead, I had to literally get up and walk away and say, you've got to calm down because whatever you do now, might have ramifications. And so the point being that there are things that happen in life that do tweak us, that do twist us, and how we respond and how we show up says something about us, not necessarily the person who was the agitator to begin with. So I know we're going to be talking about etiquette in terms of technology, but when we think about it, we do get messages from people on our devices, and how we respond. Do we send back a flaming text message with all kinds of anger faces? That makes a difference too. So we're going to get into it, but before we do, I'd love to have you share how you started the school and what has been your objective in doing so.
The school was started back in 2012. It was born out of my passion, vindication, my purpose to go out there, to be alive, joyful, to really be very, very present in who I am with a huge energy and passion, and to really embrace and appreciate those close to me, and people that we come into contact with on an early or on a daily basis. And growing and working with people, giving them these quintessential tools to really build their confidence and elevate themselves. And it's all about wanting to inspire and help people live a fuller life, to love more, to just engage more abundantly, and make a big difference in this world. And this organization was never founded on etiquette and manners. It's for posh people, blah blah blah. It's the furthest why it was founded. It's nothing to do with that. I've got books in my library here that go back 100 years. One goes back to 1870. It talks about the power and importance of etiquette and manners, common decency. And this is how this organization was founded. And it was founded on 6 pillars. The first one is, in a world where you can be absolutely anything, be kind. The second one is having a what can I do for you attitude. How can I support you? How can I help you? The third one is the ability to put people at ease in a short space of time, to make people feel welcome, to make people feel comfortable. The fourth one is very much, and it's a beautiful quote, is if we all go out there and do a random act of goodness and kindness on a daily basis, whatever it might be, paying a compliment, doing something amazing for someone, we can absolutely start to set the world in the right direction. The fifth one is that we as human beings have the ability to influence. And so influence this is what this is about, is the ability to go out there and influence people and take them and point them in the right direction. And the final one is a pillar that all of us have the privilege to be. We have the privilege to be a shepherd and to guide and to steer. In other words, we need to look to the future, not now, because it's the future that we are protecting. And if people thought the pandemic was a wake-up call, well, let me just share with every single one of you out there, we have got a far bigger challenge on our problems. Mental health, people not connecting and engaging with each other. And hence why I'm so passionate about today's topic, is because technology is there to serve us in so many ways, but it is also a very, very destructive element if it's not incorporated or engaged with correctly or introduced correctly.
I so agree with you. Thank you, Philip. And I love your passion about that. I was in a physician's office and had a very interesting conversation. And what he shared with me was, he said, we as society have more treatment offerings and more holistic approaches and routes that we can take. And we've never been more unhealthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it starts with your devices. It starts with your bad eating habits. It starts with lack of exercise. With all due respect, eating and exercise are 2 privileges that are at your fingertips. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You can go walking, running, sit-ups, press-ups, push-ups, whatever it might be. And then to eat healthily. In other words, foods that serve you. Get rid of sugar in your diet. Sugar is a cancer killer. It is something that people still don't understand. We are meant to be the smartest, so-called top of the food chain people. We don't have a clue. We are on a destruction mission. And I'm generalizing. I know I am, because there's some very dynamic, respectable, healthy people out there who really try to encourage this. I know you being one of them. But we as human beings, I don't know if we're on a fast-forward destruction journey or whatever it might be, or if we feel we're bulletproof and we're going to be here till eternity. But if we don't take care of ourselves, it's like a motor car. If you don't keep servicing your motor car when the service is due, it's going to break down on you. And that's something that we as human beings need to understand. And funny enough, Dr. JACALYN, I take on a huge amount of coaching by some of the top coaches in the world. And one of the coaches, and I'll mention him, his name is Brendan Bouchard. He is phenomenal as a coach and as an organization. One of the most successful coaches out there from what I can understand. But he introduced a gentleman called Dr. Amen from the United States of America. And the one thing that Dr. Amen has done so successfully, I think he's most probably scanned more brains than doctors around the world put together. But he has put people like Miley Cyrus on the straight and narrow, and various different artists and people who've really been struggling with addictions and mental health and that sort of thing. My point is this: are we nurturing our brains? Are we looking after our brains? Or is it just we want to be body beach fit and all that sort of thing? We don't really care about this incredible thing on our shoulders. And this is something that we need to sort of really start to take very seriously.
Philip, when it comes to basics with technology, I mean, I know I've been different places, and I'm going to even talk about fitness, where you signed up, you're paying a certain amount of money, and the person is literally checking messages during the class. And I think to myself, I guess the class is not hard enough for you. I guess you're not pushing yourself hard enough, because I don't have the energy to go and check my phone. Like, I'm focused, but I don't want to judge anyone else. So someone else might say, well, you're right. I am paying for this class. And if I want to check my messages, if I want to scroll through Instagram, I'm going to do it.
You fighting a tough one there, Dr. JACALYN. And I don't want to be crude, but it's like, excuse the term, it's like fighting against thunder, if that makes any sense.
It's a good one.
It really is. It's like trying to boil the sea. Now, going back to your point there, I truly believe that organizations need to bring in hard, fast rules that when you're here, there are no mobile phones allowed. Oh, I'm paying for my class. Well, if you don't want that stipulation, then go and join another gym. Because what's happening is you're not fully ensconced into that workout. You're not fully present. Your mind is elsewhere. And if we don't take this seriously, because we're not just exercising for our bodies, we're exercising for our minds. And if we don't disconnect from our technology, it's going to have repercussions. It's already got repercussions. Our concentration span is down to, I want to say milliseconds, but no, that's being facetious. 8-10 seconds. Our level of concentration, our children are now the biggest concern, because parents allowing them to take on devices at a far too early age is scary. But going back to your question, I think devices are not serving us. A device should be used when you need to use it for obvious reasons, but then put it down and disconnect.
Now, what about on the opposite end? And I know I have a few friends, even right now, that they have decided to take a break from technology, and they literally are not, you cannot contact them. And I respect that. I think that's interesting. I couldn't do it because I'm always working. I have that working mindset. But what about going completely the other direction where no one can get in touch with you? I guess if they wanted to get in touch with you, they could, but you can't really reach out to them.
Dr. JACALYN, you and I are of an age where we still remember the telephone that was plugged to the wall. You didn't leave the house with your phone because it was stuck to the wall. You wouldn't, with all due respect, there's a time and place to connect with people. And quite frankly, if people want to disconnect from technology, they can share with their friends. I'll be contactable between these hours, and those are my hours. The phone is there for our convenience, not the caller's convenience. And that is something we as human beings, this has steamrolled us. This has taken over our lives. We feel that we should always be in touch, or we should always be contactable. Well, that's not the case. It's become sort of a helicopter society like that. And we are no better off being contacted or contactable on a regular basis as and when. It doesn't work. And we've become so dependent on this. It's almost that need. It's like feeding. It's like feeding an addict. And I like the idea of disconnect. And many years ago, we coached an incredible woman who actually heads up, or is the direct PA to the director of a beautiful hotel in Greece. And she disconnected for 8 weeks with CEOs, top brass from around the world. They all boarded a yacht, a big yacht. Phones were locked up. The only phone that was available on board was a satellite phone if there was emergency. And they sailed for 8 weeks with no technology, books, creativity. And she said it took her 2 weeks to rekindle a small relationship with her phone off the back of getting off that ship. She said it was the most cathartic, most unbelievable detox she's ever done in her entire life.
That sounds interesting. I can't imagine, but I know that's what other people have said as well. So let's get into a little bit about how and when to use our devices. So you and I have had this conversation before, but maybe there's some new people joining us. Let's talk about when we're in the public domain. So we are waiting online. If you're in New York, otherwise, if you're in line, you're waiting to do something and somebody behind you gets their phone out, blah, 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 blah. You hear the entire conversation. And many times I think to myself that the person on the opposite end of the phone, they might not know that all of these people are now hearing their personal story.
100%. And it's something, again, we can really dig lots of holes and point it. There's no harm in answering your phone, but why don't people just put their hand and cup it over the mouthpiece? Because that works brilliantly. No one is going to be privy to your conversation. You're not going to make a noise. You're not going to share your conversation with anyone. You can whisper and the other person will hear your conversation. Personally, I feel awkward answering a phone if I'm around other people. Even if I'm in the motor car with family and friends, I don't feel comfortable having a conversation with whoever's on the other end of the phone. That's me personally. It's something that we have to sort of learn to deal with. I very rarely answer the phone on a train. On the other side of the coin, Dr. JACALYN, you get the Mr. Big Macho walking around the foyer of the hotel, and it's got to be a big scene going on there. And I saw it the other day, and I just thought, this person, A, is not even focused on who the other people are walking around. They're all dodging him. His voice is, echoing throughout the lobby. It is just it's chaos.
And it's chaos, and it's also, again, as we mentioned, it's disrespectful. Think about the people. I'm going to give you an example. In a bank, and you're waiting online to do something, and they're working there, right? They're answering calls, they're dealing with clients, and you've got people talking sometimes at the top of their voice because something gets heated, and they just disrupt the entire environment. And I feel that negative energy, and it starts to permeate down the line from one person to the next. So that's the one thing. And then something else that I've mentioned to you in the past, and I actually did a show on it, is, let's say you are in the gym. And I know the gym that I go to, there's signs everywhere about not using your phone. Please don't use your cell phone. And I'll be on the treadmill, and someone's having a whole business conversation about banking details while they're walking on the treadmill. And so I actually said something to the person, and he told me to shut up. He said, if you don't like it, get off the machine. So then it's like, well, what's the next step that you take? Do you then go to the management and then they come over? Then the guy's waiting for you outside in the parking lot. Like, where does it end? It's like we have rights, but we don't have any rights because the minority has the rights in this case.
Yeah, you're so right. And again, we could dig a big hole in that one, but people have become more aggressive. So basically, it's causing the reduced attention span. It's causing social isolation. Therefore, people don't know how to connect, and that is should be the basic and the most simple thing we are taught from when we can start to make eye contact. People don't make eye contact anymore. People have lost the impact of building the human-to-human rapport. And so again, it's something that as human beings, we've got to sort of go back in time and look at all the fundamental aspects of how do we build good human beings and how do we build good rapport with one another. Because you should have every right to go up to someone and say, please, sir, or I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know you're having an important phone call, but could you go and take it in a place that's a little bit more private? And if someone said that to me, I would take that absolutely and say, I'm terribly sorry, and disappear. But some people just bark back at you. And that is so wrong. I find that absolutely untoward. It's unacceptable. And people really need to get back in their boxes and start to reconsider how they are dealing with scenarios and how they're making other people feel.
And Another example I wanted to give, it was so on social media and in the news. There was a celebrity couple who was going out for dinner recently, and a fan wanted to get an autograph or a picture or something, and the wife politely declined, and she said, "I'm really sorry, but and this person started screaming and yelling, and somebody was there, and of course videotape, because we're always being watched wherever we are, right? And the fan I'm using in air quotes, completely lost it, just went crazy, screaming and yelling, and then insulting the couple because they wouldn't pose for the picture or give the autograph or whatever it was. And I thought, you can't even go somewhere and mind your own business without someone attacking you. And then the other person is the one who's at fault instead of the one who's asking, making the request.
Now, people have lost this scenario of a personal space and personal time and privacy. Everyone, whether you're famous or not famous, it's neither here nor there. But whether we like it or not, the people that are the superstars or your A-list celebrities will always be encroached upon. And I've been in those sort of situations where I've been talking to a celebrity and someone's come along 2 sheets to the wind, a couple of hello, and we're having a private conversation, and they're now interjecting and thing. It's almost as if there's no what's the word I'm thinking of? There's no repercussion. They think, well, if I interrupt, what's the worst that could happen to me? So they go ahead and do it, and they do it without any thought or any sort of care in the world. There's no empathy involved in this either.
Very true. Very true. So when we think about our devices, I also think we were just talking about walking, and you can walk wherever you are, and people will have their head down looking at their device. They might even, I read somewhere where someone actually fell through a manhole because they weren't paying attention. It's dangerous.
Ah, but Dr. JACALYN, did your mum or dad or your aunt or uncle walk down the street reading a book back in the day?
No, they did not.
I was in the city with a colleague the day before yesterday, a business meeting, and whenever I go for a meeting, my phone is in my case. It's on silent. I don't want to know about my phone. No would have allowed. The amount of people we had to dodge in the street or in the walk on the walkways was mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. And you're not joking. I mean, manholes, people being hit by motor cars, by bicycles, by other pedestrians. I mean, it's quite extraordinary.
And I think it's a wake up call for all of us, because I know that we all think that we have to get back to someone, which, by the way, I'd love for you to acknowledge and address that. What is the protocol in responding to someone? Because I know you, like myself, we get WhatsApp messages, messenger messages. I mean, we could go on and on. People are reaching out on all these different platforms. It's different time zones. What is the appropriate amount of time? And when do we contact someone if we know that they're 12 hours ahead of us? We're going to sleep, they're getting up. What is the protocol on that?
Get your onions organized and your ducks in a row. In other words, understand that there are time zones we need to adhere to. Firstly, secondly, weekends. We're grateful. We get wonderful inquiries on weekends through WhatsApp and our email. Wonderful. Monday morning, we take care of that. We have an out of office answer. So we'll be addressing this at 9 a.m. BST on Monday, whatever the date is, whatever the day is. And this is something that, as human beings, we don't need to act or react immediately unless it's an emergency. And again, Dr. JACALYN, when those phones were attached to the wall, when we were growing up, you didn't phone anybody after 7 o'clock at night, and you definitely didn't phone someone on a Sunday.
That's very true. And if someone calls you and they leave a message, what is the appropriate amount of time to get back if it's during the week? Is it 24 hours? Is it?
Depending on the message. Again, I'm sorry to sound so sort of, what's the word, flippant on that, or not much flesh on the bone on that. Having said that, 24 hours is a realistic amount unless it's an emergency, or it's going to lead to helping someone, or it could lead to some business opportunity, or that person's difficult to get hold of, so you respond as soon as possible. It depends on the scenario. But yes, 24 hours is absolutely perfect.
All right, well, there we have it, about the 24 hours. Now, here's another thing I have, which is a kind of like about respect to the device. The phones, the computers, the iPads, etc. They all cost a lot of money, right? I mean, 800, 900, I don't even know anymore. And what I see quite often is people have their phone, for example, and it's not in a case, and they put it face down on, like, for example, on the floor in the gym, or, and I think, oh my gosh, it's covered with germs, and then they pick it up, and I don't know, is there etiquette when it comes to your device and how to manage it?
Definitely. It's research has shown there's more germs on your phone than there are on a loo seat.
Oh my
So
god.
that's quite frightening, and it is. We've got to look after our technology, clean it regularly. Make sure you're putting it down in a safe place, in a place that hopefully it doesn't have too many germs. I mean, at the end of the day, it's how would you treat a small little baby? I know it's not a baby, thank goodness, but how would you treat certain other bits of your property? Would you just take off a nice diamond ring and throw it on the floor? No, you wouldn't. It's an expensive device. It's also a very powerful tool because pretty much most things now are accessible on our phones. It's a computer. It's something you can conduct business on pretty much 24/7 if you so wish to do that. Have respect for it because they need to last you. And I can assure you, I know lots of people who either the phone's landed in the loo or they've lost it and they feel like their right hand's been chopped off. They're running around like headless chickens. We've become so reliant on our digital devices. So, treat them with respect and be very careful, especially when you're traveling to countries where you don't know the form of the country. In other words, is it a country that's safe? Is it a country that you could be pickpocketed in? Is it a country that they would, heaven forbid, but they might even hold a knife to your throat to take the phone off you? Please understand that it's the same as anything of value. They are very valuable across the board.
Absolutely. And something else that I've always wondered about, I just was having a conversation with someone and they said, oh, I recently spoke to Sue. And did you know that Sue secretly records all of her phone calls? And I said, no, I didn't know that. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that you have to tell someone the call is being recorded. But she had an altercation with this other person and she recorded the conversation and then played it back for the person. What are your thoughts about secretly recording phone calls?
Oh, well, I wish I had recorded some phone calls in the past because people let you down, and when I say let you down, for example, owe you money, and you've had quite a frank conversation with them. It could be evidence. I think out of courtesy and professionalism, you ought to tell someone that the phone call's been recorded. I know when you phone companies, they say this phone call has been recorded for training and X, Y, and Z purposes. If you don't want to have the phone recorded, then let us know. But there's a protocol and etiquette around this.
Agreed. Because I think if we think about how we would want to be treated, do we want someone recording us and we didn't bother to tell them? The next topic, what about the speakerphone?
No, no.
You're out to dinner and the phone rings and the person goes, hi, yeah, I'm here. I'm having dinner with Philip. Philip, why don't you say hello? Bob's on the phone.
Don't have your phone at the table. Lesson number one, no phone at the table. Why do you need to take a telephone to a restaurant? What for? If someone brings out a phone in front of me, I say, please put that away. I want to spend some time with you. It's that simple. But yeah, people do it all the time, unfortunately. And that is just an absolute big zero, no, absolutely not.
One thing I've seen with people taking their phone out, they'll take the phone out under the presumption that they want to show you something. Oh, let me show you a picture of my children. And then they don't get to the picture of the children because they're looking through their emails. And now, before you know it, it's 5 minutes that's gone. And then they want to show you every picture they have of their children. And you really didn't want to see any of them.
Again, read the room, read your friend. In other words, may I show you a picture of my X, Y, and Z? Sure. Then bring the phone out, show it, and put the phone away. I mean, again, back in the day, did we walk around with our big photograph albums and put them on the dining or on the restaurant table? No, we didn't. Uh, Again, we've lost the plot here. It's this easy access to everything on our digital devices, which does serve us in many ways. But at the same time, it's also got repercussions. And there's a time and place for everything. Or You ask someone for you get permission from the person that you're with. May I show you something? I'm just going to bring my phone out because I want to check the training time. That's totally appropriate. But to be scrolling through your emails and your Facebook and all this sort of stuff, it's disrespectful, and you're thieving, you're stealing someone's time, and time is something we never get back.
All right, now this is one that I personally have done myself. I haven't done it for a long time, but I have done it many times in the past. I would go out to dinner by myself. I would sit at a table. I would take out my iPad and I would watch a movie. And I'd have my earphones in, so there was no noise. That's a zero. I can tell right now that is a no. It's
Yeah,
okay. Tell me.
Dr. Jane, I understand when people are traveling alone and that sort of thing, and life. You maybe you just want a bit of me time. I think as human beings, we are generally fairly social, give or take, some people more than others. I also believe you never know who you could build a bit of rapport with on that particular occasion. And if you're shutting yourself off, in other words, saying, I'm not really open to connecting, then you never know what you could be pushing away. And I just feel that eating on your own is not huge fun unless you've got a very gregarious waiter or waitress looking after you and they're creating a bit of conversation with you, or you might be next to another couple of people and they engage a bit of conversation. But at the end of the day, dining on your own, I find it people very brave in order to do that. We've all been there. Again, I've built up some of the most incredible rapport and conversation with other diners around or you build a connection. But if you want to shut down and just be on your own, and I've often seen people take a book out while they're having their meal or in between courses, I suppose it's your prerogative. I'm not a fan, but that's just my opinion.
I think also something else that comes up for me is that I've taken the device out specifically in case no one did talk to me, so then I didn't feel like I was a loser. If you're sitting there and you have your whole meal and no one speaks to you and the server's not interested, and then you just feel, I don't know, but if you have something else to do, then you don't feel that way necessarily.
Sometimes if I am eating on my own, I might take out a pen and paper. Now, people might say, well, what's the difference between looking at a movie and pen and paper? Pen and paper, you are using it from a more creative point of view to maybe making lists, your thought, you're doing a brain dump. I don't know. I just find there are different ways to keep our cognitive sort of cogs turning and churning rather than, slipping into watching a movie or listening to some music. And again, society now, I was walking our beautiful Coco yesterday, and I got talking to a woman who, I don't know, maybe in her 60s or something, and we were having, but everyone's walking around with headphones on and or these little earplugs in, and again, I think you're doing yourself a big disservice. You're missing out on so much from going around you. Also, you're shutting yourself off from a potential, noise that might be coming at you like a motorbike or a car. Or I just feel that, again, are we trying to shut ourselves away from connecting with other people? Is society gone to that level where we all want to become recluses and hermits? This is a big question mark, because if you think about it, Dr. JACALYN, the health issues that are being caused by this, we're talking about physical health, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about eye strain, we're talking about poor posture, we're talking about massive sleep disturbance. You're talking about more negatives than positives when it comes to technology, with all due respect. And this is something, again, we're trying to live through other people. In other words, this influence. And these young kids are being influenced like the likes of the Richard Kardashians, because they're all pumped up and this and that to other, or they want to become a YouTube, or whatever it is. They're seeing this influence. And I wish I could remember the actor's name. I've got it on my phone. It was on Instagram, but he was being interviewed by two very well-known interviewers in America, and he said they didn't give their son Levi a device until he was 16, and he explained it that he didn't want his son to grow up with all this influence and being guided by social media. He said, if you've had a good day surfing, pick up the phone and call your friend and say, I just had a great surf today. Or if you want to share something, then you can show them a picture or a photograph or something. And it's just unbelievable how this kid's mindset and his creativity and everything about him, his mental health, and he's got prolonged concentration levels. It's phenomenal.
There's something to be said about that. Absolutely. I was reading an article in the journal the other day, and it was about loneliness in the workplace and also in life. And just to paraphrase, whether you're working in an office or you're working remotely, people feel lonelier than ever. And one of the statements was that Americans are feeling the loneliest they've ever felt, which is interesting also because we have so many ways to keep ourselves engaged. If you think just about the devices itself, about all the things that are on a device, and yet we don't feel connected. How do you think it is over there in the UK?
It's the world over, Dr. JACALYN. It's the world over. People have become so connected to their devices. It's like a drug, with all due respect. But these organizations that create these machines, they make them that they are so addictive. They are AI to the inch of their life. They make them that they become so addictive. This missing out mindset and all those sort of things. They are geniuses behind this technology, and it absorbs you, it draws you in. And why do you think people are feeling so lonely? Because they become so attached to their devices, and a device is never going to replace a relationship. A device is never going to replace that interaction with other human beings. It's brilliant for having a FaceTime or a WhatsApp call with loved ones around the world or across the other side of the country. I love that aspect of it. Me with my family all over the place, I have that privilege of connecting with them on a regular basis, but at a time that's convenient. We make a point of saying, is it convenient? Checking, and it's something that you are fastidious about, Dr. JACALYN. And when you deliver the power of listening, the importance of listening, and we want to check in with one another. We don't just just swipe the phone and say, I'm going to call Dr. JACALYN and see if she's available. If you answer, great. If you don't, then I know that it's not going to work. So at the end of the day, as I said earlier in today's conversation, the phone is there for our convenience, not the person calling.
My father used to say that all the time. Final question I have for you is in the near future, we're going to be having my parents' funeral, and we have only a small group of people who are attending. And some people had asked about live streaming the event. And so we didn't get an agreement about what to do. So we're not going to do it. But what is your thought about live streaming a funeral or a wedding?
I've attended many of those live streams, Dr. JACALYN, and I think it really is a wonderful way to support the family that's involved, having lost a loved one. It's a nice way that you can feel part of it, because we can't just jump on aircrafts unless you live in a completely different Rockefeller type world. Again, time is short, time is precious. We can't just drop everything and go somewhere unless it's, let's say, a direct immediate family. But, I've lost some very good friends along the way, as we all have over the years, and obviously over COVID. And having that opportunity to connect through a link was really a wonderful thing to be able to do. And it was very close to feeling the other people being there and being able to sort of support everyone from a distance. And at least you were able to be very part of that very important aspect of life.
I agree with you. I've attended some as well, but unfortunately, we won't be doing it. So, Philip, you have some exciting events that are coming up. I would love for you to share with our audience about what they are and how they can get involved.
Certainly, I would love to do that. But before I do, I really want to send out a message to all the parents in the world that please don't look at your cell phones, your mobile phones, your iPads, your Fire, whatever these digital devices are, as babysitting tools. I find it an absolute travesty when you go somewhere and a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old is popped in front of a device and Peppa Pig or Mario and something are playing. It is a travesty, because what's happening is in those first 6 years is the most important time for our children's development and growth. They will learn more in those first 6 years than they will pretty much for the rest of their lives. And by connecting them to a digital device, you are not giving them any tools to develop and grow their mindset, their imagination, their creativity, and their communication skills. So I'm just going to put that out there. This is a discussion on its own. I see it all over the world, and we as as adults are the responsible ones. There is something that I would love to share, if I may, and I'm going to try this. I haven't. Let me see if I can get this, Dr. JACALYN, and then I can bring it into play here. But there's a wonderful thing that I love sharing, and it's basically a woman on a train. And I don't know how I do this, but literally there she is reading, and her 4-year-old, 5-year-old's reading, and they asked her, how did you persuade your child to read instead of playing with a smart device? She said, children don't hear us, they imitate us. And I want people to understand this, because we are in serious trouble right now. So going back to your original question, Dr. JACALYN, we here at the British School of Excellence have got some phenomenal things coming up. We are in the throes of getting fully prepared for our Train the Trainer live in person in London from the 10th of June to the 14th of June. We have got the most wonderful group of students coming in from all over the world for those 5 and 10 days. And we've got a little sneaky surprise for them on the Saturday that they don't really know about, that we're putting on complimentary just to really blow them away and give them a lovely insight into little snippets of London. We've also got a full tour this year with regard to the London experience. We're already planning next year's one. And then as we go into June, July and August, we're running mindset and confidence, mindset and resilience, mindset and money, and mindset and mapping for teenagers. We are running live kiddie cat courses for 6 to 12-year-olds live here in London. And the year is galloping away with us. We've got some wonderful ideas for around the late part of September coming into October. The fall, as known in America, the autumn here in the United, we call it autumn, where we're going to run a small little mini tour here in the UK and give people some wonderful insights into some traditional English, British style things. So those are just a few snippets. Have a look at our website on www.thebritishschoolofexcellence. School of Excellence, and we love engaging on WhatsApp, we love engaging on the phone, we love engaging on Zoom calls. Please reach out to us, because that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Philip. That is so exciting. You have so much going on. Good for you and good for your team. Congratulations.
And something we are considering very soon, Dr. JACALYN, early in the new year, is actually offering the Train the Trainer at a venue in New York in the early part of next year. So that's another very exciting thing. And so there's so many wonderful things. I mean, the team we have here, Leanne, as you know so well, Emma, we've got Nuzat, we've got the most wonderful team behind us who are just phenomenal at supporting us and driving this business forward.
That is super exciting. As I've told you before, I would love to attend for a week. I wish I could take a week off from work, because I just think it would be so incredible. So anyway, we'll talk about that at a future time. We do have your information up on the screen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your sponsorship for this show, as well as the Royally Rich Lifestyle Show, Live, Learn, Teach, and Inspire. By the way, the Royally Rich Lifestyle Show will be playing on our network today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.
Absolutely wonderful. And there's some great content, as you all know, coming out of the Royally Rich Show. It's a very exciting, beautiful scenario and series that we've put together. Ian and Helen host it, and great guests on there as well.
I'm actually on there this week. Yay! So check it out. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, take a deep breath and think before you act, because what you do could come back as a boomerang.
That's the rule. Just take
a breath. All right. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had the trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made, and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I find really I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school, this class is the best, this is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSE.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.